Politics and radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. It's hard to believe, but it's November 1st, 2016. Only 2 months left to this unbelievable, insane year. So with that in mind, the fact that it appears to be a Jubilee year, Jeff Berwick is with us now from dollarvigilante.com. Jeff, how are you?
I'm doing great, Kerry. How are you?
All right. So I guess we might as well get into it here. Like a fellow conspiracy theorist, what is really going on here with this election and with Hillary, with Trump, with Comey? What do you see happening?
Well, originally, Kerry, I was very adamant that I thought for sure Hillary Clinton would be selected as the next president. It just appeared that was exactly what they had in mind. You could just see everything they were doing. Of course, she's like one of the most insiders of all time. She's basically owned by the elites. And Trump, we're still trying to figure out exactly what his story is. But originally, I was just saying that no matter what happens, they're gonna make sure she wins. But I've started to change my mind in the last couple of weeks. I've started to notice something shifted, and I speculated on this a little bit in our newsletter at the Dollar Vigilante that earlier this year I was also surprised by Brexit. So Brexit, we've had all these sort of secessionist movements over the decades. They always fail. The elections almost always looked rigged, and especially Scotland, which happened a couple of years ago. There was so much information that was rigged. So I was expecting Brexit to be rigged, but then it went through. And so then I had to reassess all of what I was thinking about what was going on. And what I realized was that the elites are actually starting to lose control. They there's a massive upswelling of people in Britain, for example. So many people are like, they've had enough of this tyrannical technocracy called the European Union with their billions and billions of rules and regulations and taxes, and not even a democracy. Even you don't even know who the president is. There's like 5 of them. And so I think they can't hold back this tide of people wanting change from this horrible system that's been put in place all over the place. So I think what they did with Brexit was they realized if they rigged that election again, they would get major blowback. There's too many people on the internet now that are exposing all of these frauds, all of these things that are going on. Yep. And so I think they said, okay, we can't just rig it again. We're losing control. And even John Kerry said this little thing called the internet is making it hard to govern. They're losing control because of the internet. So I think what happened with Brexit was they said, okay, let's let them win. Let's hammer the stock markets afterwards. Let's hammer the British pound afterwards. Let's make everyone go through a ton of pain, make them realize that if they're going to go away from our central planning one world government sort of system, that they're going to go through a lot of pain. And so that's what happened with Brexit. They allowed it to go through. The next day, it was the worst day in worldwide stock markets in history for a point collapse. The British pound has been hammered since then. But then Brexit never really is going through. Nothing's happening. They're talking about maybe 2019 we'll get around to it. So I think what they did was they said, let's let them vote. Let's let all the slaves vote. Let them have what they think they want. Let's hammer them on it. And then let's not even do what they want us to do, what they said they wanted to do in the first place, like Brexit. There's like no progress being made on that. Right after Brexit, Nigel Farage, who was the leader of the Brexit movement, quit. He resigned after numerous assassination attempts. Mm-hmm. And then the next prime minister or prime murderer of England was a very anti-Brexit sort of person. So that was very clear what happened with Brexit now. And so I'm getting the same feeling with Trump in this election coming up. I think they're realizing they can't hold it back. Everyone's seeing these pictures of Hillary Clinton in front of literally 20 or 30 people trying to give a speech. And then you have Trump in front of literally stadiums full of people. And they did a good job of getting rid of Bernie Sanders that way. Of course, we've all found out that was all rigged by Hillary Clinton and all the same people again. But people started to wake up then. And I think they realized we can't just do this again. So I think that what they're going to do is let Trump win. And then they're going to just make sure that nothing really changes again, just like what they did with Brexit. So, for example, with Trump, he has no real intention of closing the Federal Reserve. He's never even talked about that. So the Federal Reserve is one of the biggest problems in the U.S. today. He's He's never talked about shutting down the war on drugs, which is another of the biggest problems in the U.S. today. He's only talked about actually increasing the police state. So a lot of people have this feeling like Trump's outsider. He's anti-establishment. He's really not. He was actually just recently at a Jesuit meeting with Hillary Clinton right after the third debate. They both went. Jesuits, by the way, are one of the most nefarious sort of Illuminati groups out there. They control so many things. They've been thrown out of so many countries over the last few centuries. And actually, Donald Trump was a Jesuit trained. So he's sort of an insider, in my opinion. He hangs out with Hillary Clinton. They go golfing with Bill Clinton all the time. They're old friends. He's not an outsider, but people think he's an outsider. So I think what they're going to do is let him win now. And then basically nothing's going to change. We're just going to keep going in more Middle Eastern wars, which actually Trump has said, oh, we got to take out ISIS and all these sort of things. So the wars aren't going to end. The Federal Reserve's not going to end. The war on drugs not going to end. We're going to have an increase in the police state. But people will feel like, hey, we won, just like they felt like with Brexit. So that's my opinion on what's going on.
Yeah, you really think that so no difference. Trump is just part of the establishment, huh?
Yeah, well, you don't get to be a billionaire the way he did. Well, actually, he was sort of inherited most of it and actually has lost a lot of it, actually. But you don't really get his father was very involved with these globalists. He's Jesuit trained. If anyone looks into the Jesuits, they're one of the most nefarious groups out there. One of the definitely the globalist elites, or a lot of them are Jesuits. He's Jesuit trained. They just went to the Jesuit party right after the third debate, as I mentioned, both him and Hillary Clinton. So he's not an outsider at all. He talks like it. But if you look back at all of Trump's rhetoric, even just over the last 5 or 10 years, we're not talking about going back 20 or 30 years to something he said, but just even 5 or 10 years ago, he said the opposite of almost everything he's saying now. So he's your typical politician. He might not even know, though. He may not be aware that they're using him to do this sort of a plan, although I bet he probably is somewhat aware, but he might not be. But this idea that he's this outsider, he's going to fix the U.S. And fix all the problems going on in the U.S., I don't see that at all. He's never said anything that's going to change anything dramatically. So that's, I think, what they've offered up for this election period this year is the worst of all evils, Hillary Clinton. Like, I can't even imagine anyone worse unless you want to bring back Pol Pot or Stalin or Lenin from the dead.
Oh, God.
And then they're like, okay, well, this guy's a little bit better, Donald Trump. And I think they wanted to push through Hillary, and they still might. But I think they're going to allow Trump to win, but then nothing's going to change, in my opinion. Nothing major. He'll do he'll play a little things, do a few little things. He's not against socialized healthcare. He's actually very pro socialized healthcare. He said that's one of the 3 main things that a government should provide is socialized healthcare. So right there, he's not going to change anything. He might, change a few things with Obamacare, but he's not going to get rid of it. He's definitely not getting rid of the Federal Reserve, which is the biggest problem, and which is actually the backing all these wars that the U.S. is constantly in. Sure. He's not against the war on drugs, which is putting millions and millions of people in jails. And in fact, he's actually pro increasing the police state. So instead of getting rid of the war on drugs and legalizing all drugs and decriminalizing them all so that we can have literally millions of less people in cages in the U.S. in rape camps, he wants to put more people in there. He wants to start more stop and frisk. It sounds very, very fascist. No, I don't see any real difference between him and Killary, except for Killary is a complete, absolute maniacal sociopath, liar, who has no problem killing anybody. Trump might be just a little bit better, but not that much better.
Well, we haven't heard any allegations that there is no Trump death list, put it that way. Right. That's
true. So, yeah, in that sense, he's a little bit better.
Yeah. I mean, there could be one quickly. Who knows? He is thin-skinned and doesn't take well to constructive criticism, does he?
Well, he's talked about that with terrorism, which, of course, the U.S. government and the CIA are the biggest terrorist organization in the world. But he talks about, we've got to get the terrorists and kill and torture their families. So obviously, both these people are incredibly demented and incredibly violent people. But in the end, actually, it doesn't really matter who the president is. This is all a big sham. It's all a big show. It never matters. There's been no difference between George Bush, the original one, before the other, his father, who actually financed the Nazis. And then there's been no difference between Bill Clinton came in, he started bombing Bosnia and all these sort of places. Then George W. Bush came in, and of course they were behind the 9/11 attacks, essentially the Project for a New American Century. And then they attack Afghanistan, then they attack Iraq, and then bombing everywhere. And then Barack Obama gets in, and within a few days he gets a Nobel Peace Prize. And there's not been one day of non-war in the U.S. his entire presidency. He's already started new ones in Syria. He's attacked Libya. Nothing changes. So no matter, it doesn't really matter. This is all a big show. And until people wake up and realize that, nothing's going to change.
So you don't believe anything Trump has to say, huh?
Well, I listen, but it's very clear that he flip-flops on essentially everything. So he has no real principles. He's essentially just what your typical politician is saying whatever people want to hear. If people want a wall on the Mexican border, he'll say, let's build a wall and let's make Mexico pay for it, which is hilarious. And but it really doesn't matter. If you even just look at Barack Obama, like what has he really done? Like the presidency really doesn't have all that much power, really. The Congress does. And all these things get pushed through from the top down, from people well above the president. The president is essentially a puppet. Barack Obama is essentially just a teleprompter reader, not much different than Max Headroom, except for he actually really kills people. No, this is all a big game. People have to realize this, and people are putting their hopes in someone's going to save us. We have to just elect this person or that person. People need to realize you need to elect yourself as your own ruler, as your own leader, and just get rid of these massive governments that are destroying the world.
Yeah. So, hey, what about the WikiLeaks disclosures here? What's your take on all that?
Which one in particular? Because there's been so many. You're talking about the Clinton leaks?
The Clinton leaks, what we've seen so far, her campaign manager, Podesta, 35,000, maybe it's up to 40,000 emails have been dropped so far, and really kind of lifted the veil off things, didn't it?
Yes, to some extent, although I do have some doubts about how legit WikiLeaks is, and I'm not saying it's backed by the Russians at all. I actually think they might be sort of COINTELPRO to some extent, the same way as Edward Snowden. You have to realize the CIA and the U.S. government has a black budget in the trillions of dollars. So they have so many things going on all around the world. They have so many people working for them, doing all kinds of things. So I have doubts about everything, but it is interesting. If WikiLeaks is legit, it's great. Of course, we live in the digital age now, and I wrote an article a couple of years ago. I said privacy is dead, and it literally is dead. There's nothing that anyone can't find out about you today. You're on camera no matter where you are, even in your own home with your smart TVs and all these sort of things. Right. So we're going to find out all kinds of stuff. This is really interesting. Whether WikiLeaks is 100% legit or not is sort of besides the point. The point is that everything is coming to light in the last few years, and it's only going to increase. And as people realize what's really going on, I think we could see a real shift in human consciousness and awakening to realize that this is all a big scam. There's everything that's going on. The media is run by the same people who runs the government, who run the central banks, who are destroying the economy, who are creating stock market bubbles and crashes in order to take advantage of you. They're printing money so that the elites make a fortune while everyone else gets impoverished. As people start to realize this, we're going to see a massive change. And that's why the elites are really running scared, in my opinion, right now. I was just at Bilderberg a few months ago in Austria, I believe. No, it was in Germany this year. And some of the headlines of the alternative media this was the most paranoid Bilderberg ever. And it's because people are starting to figure out what's going on. And as it happens, the elites don't really know what to do. And so I think they're going to get they're going to go really extreme, in my opinion. I think they are going to start some of these wars that are already brewing all over the place, just to take people's mind off of what's going on and to get people scared again and get them supporting their government and their armies and let's go to war and we need this. But hopefully people see through it. We're starting to see a lot of people starting to wake up. So it's incredibly interesting times. This is absolutely fascinating times to see what's going on, because there's so many things going on, and it's all happening. It seems like all right now. It's just like I wake up in the morning and I see 20 or 30 things that I should be talking about, and I just have to pick one or two.
It's amazing. I feel the same way. There's so many stories out here, so many people telling them, but got a limited amount of time, and when I started this thing, I was working 7 days a week, and, I would do 24, 28 shows, but, interviews, whatever. But now I just can't do it, just cannot do it. So, hey, but did you know one of these WikiLeaks said that Hillary Clinton hits her head when she gets upset?
No, that's not really surprised though.
Yeah, she slaps herself in the head when she maybe that could explain all these Parkinsonian symptoms that are coming to the fore here, Jeff. She slapped herself like Muhammad Ali just too many times, and the brain cells just can't take it anymore. I mean, just crazy stuff about her hygiene. It's more stuff than you really want to know, right?
Yeah, well, one thing that I've noticed, and I haven't really talked about this too much, is it kind of seems like the old sort of the power structure, people like Henry Kissinger, David Rockefeller, Rothschild, Jacob Rothschild, all these people, Dick Cheney, George Bush, all these sort of people, they're all kind of fading. Well, obviously Kissinger and Rockefeller, they're Rockefeller's like 99 years old or something.
They're like fossils, man. They're forget it. Yeah.
Yeah, they drank like baby's blood or something just to keep alive. But what I've sort of noticed is they're kind of even people like Hillary, she's sort of having this breakdown, It's like they're losing their power.
Yeah. Oh, man, she's just physically. I mean, hey, look, we've all known people who've had bad diseases, and when they walk, it's like their bones, the pain, you can feel it in your bones when they walk. You just see they're in major pain. Watch Hillary go up or down a stairway into the plane or walk across the stage. She holds herself like somebody who's in an enormous amount of pain. And, I know I've felt that myself sometimes when I've thrown my back out, where every move, everything that just jostles you a little bit, moves your body a little bit, just hurts like hell. And that's what we're seeing here, is a woman who's in a lot of pain. But man, you got to respect the fact that in spite of all this pain, she hasn't backed off, hasn't given up. Doesn't matter how many scandals, how many emails get disclosed, the woman keeps going on, Jeff. You got to, even if you hate her, you got to respect the fact that,
Yeah, well, her lust for power is massive. I think that's what keeps her just going.
Is it just a lust for power? I mean, on one level, that's true, but it's a goal that she's had for her entire life, and she doesn't want to give it up. So whatever the underlying reason, my point is. No, that's
true. Even when I watch Trump, he's doing 3 speeches a day in 3 different states a day right now. And I think he's around 70 years old.
He's 70. Yes, correct.
Yeah. I'm 46 this month, and I do 1 or 2 speeches, and I need to go lie down. It takes a lot out of you going and standing in front of people and doing all these talks, and man, they're just going for it. So yeah, you do have to respect that. My mom is around 70 years old. She's in a wheelchair. She's not going to 3 speeches a day. But to me, it just appears like they're just, they really that ring of power that's what the Lord of the Rings was all about. That ring of power is the power of government, and it will drive people insane with lust for it. And I'm not saying necessarily Trump's like that, but what else would be driving them to do that sort of thing so much, and Killary, obviously, I don't know if she knows or not. That's a weird psychological part about this. You don't really know if they know how evil they are. She may think in her own deluded brain that she's got the best idea how to fix the world, and a lot of people need to be killed, and we got to bomb these people, and all that sort of stuff. Right. So yeah, but I do respect both of them are quite old, and they're I don't know how they do what they do.
Yeah, Trump especially. I mean, the guy seems to be the spitting image of health, doing 3 to 4 speeches a day, and he's crisscrossing the country doing this. Air travel. I mean, I get home from a trip and I like to take a nap. Granted, he's got a bedroom on there. It's not quite like flying commercial, but still, you're in a pressurized cabin. You're getting bounced around half the time. I mean, and she's done her best to stay off the campaign trail. It's obvious serious health issues, but still now the end of the campaign, she's turned it up, and she's she's speaking to dozens of people all over the country. Pretty much.
It's been wild to watch. This has definitely been the most interesting election that I've ever seen in the U.S. Nothing even comes close. So the next week's going to be interesting. There's still so many things that can happen. I still am expecting lots of things to come out of left field on all in the next week or so.
Oh yeah.
It's just been fascinating to watch. But the issue is that so many people are just watching this constantly, and it really doesn't matter.
I know.
People should be just paying attention to their own lives, spending time with their kids, being productive, not just watching this show all the time. Although if you just watch it as entertainment, it is pretty funny.
And that, I think, is Trump's biggest contribution, is turning what's usually a very horrible, boring, monotonous, and downright just eye-glazing experience into entertainment that you kind of look forward to. Like, what did he say next? How did he get her upset this time? Who did he, slander now? I mean, you just don't know what the guy's going to do. And his brilliance of social media domination, Twitter, Fakebook, which you found out Fakebook is really fake. All these things, though, the guy can just take control of the media and own them. I just happened to go to the opening of the grand opening of the hotel in DC. And, there was a gaggle of reporters there, and I'm in front of because I was technically media, believe it or not. I didn't want to be called media, but that's what the past said. So I had to sit with the media. And this AP guy is kind of mumbling under his breath, narrating the whole thing, just saying like the nastiest things that weren't called for at all, Jeff. I mean, he's just totally forget about objectivity. And all of the reporters are grumbling afterwards. They said, well, he really turned this into a campaign event. Thinking, idiots, what do you expect? Anytime this guy appears in public now, it's going to be a campaign event. Were you expecting anything less, you morons? I mean, they were so disingenuous and stupid. I mean, that was the best thing, getting to see the press at their absolute worst. I mean,
I went to the G7 last year before Bilderberg because they're both within about an hour of each other. And I had never attended one of those. And I went with Luke Rudowski of We Are Change, and he kind of snuck me into the G7. And it was about 10,000 journalists, at least a few thousand at least, but I think it was more than 5,000 at least, journalists from around the world. So all the best media from every country in the world was there. And I couldn't believe how stupid they were. Like, they had no idea about anything. They were just there to drink the champagne, and they poured like $10,000 bottles of champagne for these guys. This is all paid for by the taxpayers, of course, at the G7. And all they would do is they'd get a notice like, oh, Barack Obama is going to go drink a beer with Angela Merkel right now. Let's go get our photo. And then they come back and they just drink. And I'd be like, do you know anything? Do you know Bilderberg's happening next week? And they're like, no, what's that? And you talk to them and you say, you should check out Bilderberg. They're like, oh no, we get told where to go. We get told what to do.
We get told what to say.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
Just take that for what it's worth. Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying. They're so disingenuous. They're so intellectually lazy and dishonest. It's shocking. It's just shocking. At least
we actually had drinks with the White House press corps. We snuck into the Bilderberg Hotel last year, and they didn't know who we were, and I didn't know who they were, but Luke did. But we all ended up drinking. We're the only people in the hotel before Bilderberg, and they were about to leave because that's where they were staying for the G7. They were about to leave the day before Bilderberg, and we had a bunch of drinks. And actually, they opened up quite a bit to us. They said, "You guys are the real journalists. We're just actors." And we said, "Why don't you, tell some truth and stuff?" And they said, "Well, we have mortgages, we just do what we're told."
We like breathing. We love breathing. It's a great pastime. Yeah, I mean, let's face it, everybody's compromised, right? I mean, everyone is compromised to some extent because we all do have these other concerns that make us vulnerable. So anyway, well, Jeff, what best website to find you at these days?
Same one as always. Just go to dollarvigilante.com. If you like the kind of stuff we've been talking about here, just put your email on the front page. We'll send you our daily blog, and I write a blog every day.
Yes.
If you prefer videos, just check out YouTube. Just type in the Dollar Vigilante on YouTube, and we do a video almost every day as well.
Yeah, hey, we love your work. Been following it since I started this thing over 5.5 years ago. It's a must read. Always good for some laughs and some tears, and highly recommended. And you will find the link in the show notes. Just click Jeff's name and it will take you right to his site. And emails kl@kerrylutz.com. Go to iTunes, subscribe to the show. That way, save you the need for finding it every day or going to the site. Automatically gets delivered to your iTunes program. Just type in Kerry Lutz or Financial Survival Network, click subscribe, and that's all you have to do. It'll come right to your machine every day. Every time there's a new article, episode, whatever, you're going to see it. And hey, maybe we'll hit the Bilderbergs together next year, man. That would be a lot of fun.
Oh, I don't know, man. I've been to the last two, and I've been arrested so many times, and I'm thinking...
That's good. You'll play interference for me, because I'm not getting arrested. What'd you get arrested for? Trespassing or...
Oh, they just always were stopping and detaining us. I guess arrested is not the right word, but
detained.
At the last Bilderberg, detained. Yeah, we'd be walking along, and they'd go, "Oh, Dollar Vigilante, get over here." And then an hour of going through my stuff and coming up to my hotel room and searching my stuff.
Really? They went up to your room? Yeah, it's totally extrajudicial when the Bilderbergs
they told us. They
said,
this is, there's no laws here around this Bilderberg hotel. We can do whatever we want with you.
Yeah, what does that tell you? Well, what the real power is and why they just don't want the light shown on them. And that's why Hillary's and Bill have become expendable. That's what I've noticed over the past week, the shift in coverage. They become expendable for the first time ever. We'll see what happens with the election, Jeff. Anyway, you be well, and we will talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Kerry.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.